The Yamaha Ténéré 720/25 maintains its adventurous spirit, but with important updates under the saddle.
The double cradle frame has been improved to refine the handling.
The suspensions have also been reviewed. At the front, we find a fork with 210mm travel for this standard Cagliaba version, and at the rear, a fully adjustable mono that can give you perfect control over any type of terrain. The footrests, much more generous than the 2024 version, have been widened by 10mm to improve the rider's control and stability during driving.
And the one-piece saddle, longer and narrower in the tank area, facilitates the rider's off-road movements with 210 mFs traveled.
So guys, let's start right away. As usual, from the driving comfort. How is it on board this Ténéré 700 2025? Well, the answer is not that positive. It's true they've revised the saddle, but in my opinion, they may have designed it a bit too much for off-road. In fact, it turns out to be very rigid, and this certainly doesn't benefit the rider's buttocks on long distances. However, in terms of arms, shoulders, wrists, and hands, I must say we are quite comfortable. You can tell it's a bike that wants to be ridden standing up.
In fact, once I get into this position, I am really, perhaps even more comfortable than sitting down.
In my opinion, the trend on this Yamaha bike has been to make the Ténéré even more specialized, so it's more designed for off-road. And this, in my opinion, is a shame because most of the Ténéré owners I know don't really do off-road. But they probably bought it because they prefer it to the classic Tracer. The updated footrests are really good. They manage to transmit absolutely no vibration to the rider thanks to the rubber inserts placed inside the footrest itself. And with my foot, I can really stay very well both sitting and standing given the larger surface. So, if we wanted to summarize, nice updates, but the only negative point is definitely the seat, poorly padded and really very rigid. Fortunately for Rima, the CP2 engine manages to make us forget these little flaws a bit. The twin-cylinder 689cc, now updated to the Euro 5 Plus anti-pollution regulations. Its power is 73, 4 horsepower at 9,000 revolutions per minute, with a maximum torque of 68 Newton meters. The air intake has also been updated, now shorter, while the clutch position has been reviewed so as not to interfere during driving. Energetic, ready, and fun. These are some adjectives with which I would define this CP2. The only flaw, guys, is the lack of quick shifters, which can be installed, but it's optional. So you'll have to shell out a little more money from your wallet to take it home. And I know what you're thinking. Well, Nicolo, you're driving a standard. With the rally, they give it to you, and instead, no. And honestly, guys, looking a bit at the perspective of renewing and improving this bike from a technological point of view, it's a bit of a shame on Yamaha's part. Come on, how much more could it cost to include it? And staying on the topic of the clutch, one thing I really didn't like is the clutch lever, which is not adjustable, unlike the brake lever, which indeed we can bring closer or move away as we wish.
It, on the other hand, remains fixed and is a bit distant.
But maybe this is a subjective thing. Probably by trying the bike that, if you want, I remind you, is available at Fayetta dealerships. Maybe for you, unlike me, this is not a flaw, but you will find it comfortable. She, guys, is quite a rail in the curves. The fully adjustable Kayaba suspensions managed to give us a pretty good driving comfort. Rigid, just right, but always ready to dampen what could be the flaws of the asphalt. Obviously, guys, we won't have a chance to test it off-road. Unfortunately, I know that many of you might have wanted to see it in that environment. But let's do this. If this video gets 5,000 likes, I'll go directly to Mr. Fayetta to ask if he'll let me have it, maybe for an off-road weekend. Staying on the topic of cycling, a side note definitely goes to the revised and improved braking system, which honestly surprised me.
The bite is really great.
And the modularity of this system, thanks to its axial pump, daisy discs, and the pair of pliers that Yamaha decided to install. So we open the electronics discussion, connecting for a small portion of the video still the engine discussion. In fact, as the main novelty, we have the ride-by-wire throttle control, which I must say works really very well.
There are no delivery gaps.
The bike maintains that gritty soul and sometimes allow me even grumpy, which however has always distinguished the Ténéré model and the driving feeling. Guys, I assure you it's excellent. On the right command block, in fact, we finally find a button that says Mode. This allows us, by pressing it, to enter the menu that allows us to select different situations. For example, the most obvious, the ability to control engine mappings. The first, the Sport, the most aggressive, the most responsive on the gas command, and the second instead, the Explorer, a bit sweeter and gentler with a slightly more docile gas command. Then moving to the right, we finally find the traction control system that is the traction control system, which can be directly deactivated by the user. Always in the same menu. To the right, we then find the ABS control, which can also be deactivated but can also be adjusted in different modes. For example, we can decide to exclude the rear ABS or even deactivate it completely. And of course, to conclude the electronics discussion, we are faced with a new display inspired by Rally Road books. 6.3 inches for this vertical format color thin film transistor. And it offers connectivity with the MyRide app for turn-by-turn navigation and notifications. To its right, we also find a convenient USB-C port to charge devices during the trip. But here too, guys, I can't help but point out the lack of an accessory that at least I personally, on bikes of this kind, consider really essential. There's no cruise control, and this, guys, is a big flaw. Then let me know what you think in the comments. But most Ténéré 700 users are people who use it for traveling and on the road, not off-road.
So we introduced the ride-by-wire? Yes! Do we put in cruise control? No! Why? Yamaha, you have to explain this to me.
Comment below, please. Send me a message. Let's answer this question. On the other hand, one thing I did like is the fact that we finally have a bit more control. So an onboard electronics capable of helping us, perhaps due to lack of experience, in some situations that can prove to be dangerous. In addition to a nice full LED headlight and instrumentation inspired by Rally Road books. The thin film transistor in question, unlike the others, so MT07 lines 09 and Tracer 7 and 9, it can be read very, very well even in full light situations.
And this is because, quite simply, it has a higher brightness compared to the other TFTs mounted.
While we got caught in this Roman traffic, I also have a chance to feel how much this CP2 actually heats up.
And I must say that from the temperatures that the dashboard communicates to me, we have an external temperature of 27 degrees and a water temperature, so not of the engine, but of the water circulating in the engine, of 84 degrees.
So we are in full swing, even in a fairly stressful situation for the bike, because we have a reduced speed and we are in the middle of traffic. Having explained this, I tell you that I feel a slight heat, obviously due a bit to the extreme situation that I'm experiencing on the inner area of my thighs and knee.
I would say at this point to try to let this tender one breathe a little and see how it behaves among the curves.
I tell you, you have to get a little used to the front, greater than the rear circle, but once set, it turns out to be a really nice track. And speaking of circles and wheels, here guys, more than ever, Yamaha needs a good ear pulling. Which in 2025 continues to offer us the Ténéré
with a non-tubeless wheel and therefore with an inner tube. Damn, how is that possible?
All the others in the category have now switched to tubeless. Why do you, Yamaha, continue to offer me the inner tube? It's a pain in the neck in terms of practicality and resolution and punctures during, perhaps, driving. So, personal advice, if you can, once purchased, immediately convert to tubeless and put a nice tire on it. Suitable also for the type of need and use that you will make of the bike. In fact, it is pointless to keep a studded tire if the majority of kilometers are traveled on the road.
Let's now talk about prices and versions, and here I have written down some notes because the error is just around the corner.
Can we find it standard, lowered, or rally?
The first one, the standard saddle at a height of 875 mm suspensions with a travel of 210 mm at the front and 200 at the rear.
The lowered version with a saddle at 860 mm front suspension with a travel of 190 mm and the rear one of 180 mm.
While for those who are real off-road enthusiasts and mainly use it for that,
saddle at 910 mm, suspensions with increased travel to 230 mm at the front and 220 mm at the rear. Livery inspired by rallies, titanium footrests, and increased engine guard plate in 4 mm aluminum. The available colors are mainly 3: Icon Blue, Frozen Titanium, and the new Sky Blue reserved for the rally version.
And as for prices, guys, we have 10,999 euros for the standard, as well as for the lowered version, which does not require a larger outlay of money. While for the rally version, it takes 12,199 euros. We pay more, but we also get something extra.
In fact, in addition to the paramotor, we also find the rally saddle.
An extra theme in the thin film transistor dashboard and the high mudguard.
Now, personally, I believe I've told you everything there is to know about the new TENERE 700.
If I missed anything, write it down in the comments below, so I can improve the next reviews.
If you have personal opinions, maybe because you bought it or have the previous model, still write me a nice comment below because I want to know your thoughts.
Let's try to open a constructive debate about this model, to make it clear, maybe even to those who would like to buy it, which one is better to purchase.
From Green Arrow Nicolo, that's all.
As usual, I thank you for watching. I invite you to subscribe to the channel and leave a nice like below the video.
Of course, we'll see each other in the next one. Always here on the channel. Bye, guys!